Hello everybody, welcome to another episode of Bubbly Wubbly Nostalgia. I am Razorblade Mango, and before I talk about the entry today, I wanted to share some I mean, I hate to be that guy that brings up the news that makes people go, ugh, no. But I have to say what inspired me, because I was having trouble picking the game to talk about this week, because there's a lot of choices you can do, and I'm saving, I'll just let you guys know, either Kingdom Hearts 1 or 2 is going to be the entry when it reaches the 10th episode, so look forward to that, 7 weeks from now. Excuse me. So, on Guillermo del Toro's Twitter account, he said this morning, Junji Ito, undisputed master of horror in Japan, along with Hino and Tsubaki, and our collaborator in Silent Hills. And a separate tweet said, Kojima and myself are fans. And he posted pictures, because I'd honestly never heard of Junji Ito before, you know, and supposedly he's like a really, really famous manga artist, particularly in the psychological horror genre. And from the photos that Del Toro posted of the guy's work, and when I found out about the guy, I went and did my own research, kind of looking at his stuff. And if he had been working, if Silent Hills had gone through and Ito had worked on the art design of that game, holy shit, we would have gotten something unbelievably frightening. I mean, even without, I don't know if Ito worked on PT or that concept trailer that they showed at Tokyo Game Show last year, but if this man had been allowed to work on Silent Hills, what we could have gotten, guys. And that's just another, it just reinvigorates my fuck you, Konami, regarding to... You know what? I honestly don't give a shit, and I'm getting a little off topic here for the day, but bear with me, I'm gonna get my little mini rant in here. I don't give two fucks if Konami stops making AAA games. I honestly don't care. The way they've been treating their franchises over the past few years has been gross. And to see them hopefully finally just fuck off forever and go make goddamn slot machines and health centers, you know what? I don't care. Fuck them. You know what? Those franchises, I'd rather they never ever make any more of those games again, rather than release shitty entry after half-hearted entry of them for the years to come. I'd rather they just not do it at all. I don't want to see a half-hearted Contra. I don't want to see another shitty Silent Hill game. I don't want Metal Gear without Kojima. But yeah, and also the fact that they had the perfect game. You guys had Kojima, Del Toro, Norman Reedus, and now Junji Ito. Judging by the guy's work, because I can't, you know, I'm not gonna lie and say I knew about the guy. Judging by the work that I've seen from him, I mean, I'll send you guys, I'll put the link in the comment section so you guys can look at the tweets. But look at this shit. I mean, it is awesome. I mean, it's fucking creepy as hell, but it's so fucking awesome looking at it. And then they just had to cancel it because fuck them, because they suck. So anyway, that's my fuck Konami entry for the week. But yeah, on with Bubbly Wubbly Nostalgia. The reason I bring this up is because this week, like I said, I had a tough time coming up with the entry for this week because there's just a lot of stuff to talk about. And when this story came out this morning, it kind of reinvigorated my appreciation for past Silent Hill games, and I still mourned for the future of what it could have been. So this week, I want to talk about Silent Hill 3. Now, this game, I said before in the first episode that a lot of my games growing up, when I had the very first PlayStation model of the PlayStation 2, is a lot of those games came in bootleg form, because my dad would travel a lot and he'd bring back tons of games, almost all bootleg. Same with movies. And one of them was a bootlegged European version of Silent Hill 3. And I remember getting the cover for it, and it's not, I don't believe it's the same as the American cover. The European cover has an image of Heather, just her face, but it's like her eyes are missing. It's just these black holes where her eyes should be. And I remember, because I was like 10 years old when I got this, like 10 or 11 when I got it, maybe even 9, maybe 9 or 10, one of the two. And I remember looking at the cover and just feeling really unnerved, because I never really had been, sure, I knew what horror was, and I'd seen some horror stuff before, but I never really understood what psychological horror was until that point. I mean, Silent Hill 3 was my introduction to that genre, and to this day, that's really the only, I mean, with the exception of some stuff, it's really the only form of horror that really speaks to me. I don't really respond well to a lot of, like, torture porn and teen slasher stuff. Like I said in my Until Dawn video, I mean, I can appreciate it and I can enjoy it, but as far as being scared by it, it doesn't really work with me. And this is where Silent Hill came in, because Silent Hill was one of the first games that I played. I mean, yes, they do have their jump scares. Even PT has their jump scares, which are fucking terrifying. Silent Hill 3 was my first exposure to an idea that horror can fuck with your head. I mean, yeah, it can make your heart jump, especially with the jump scares and the thrill of running away from a monster. But the idea of messing with your mind, that is what scares me the most. Because, you know, I can watch movies and play video games that are tons of body horror and people getting their limbs torn off and eyes gouged out and shit. I mean, and that will, you know, it will unnerve me, but it won't deeply disturb me like something like Silent Hill does. Something that creates this, I mean, Silent Hill 2 does it as well, but I have a greater affection for 3 than I do 2. And I really like 2. 2 is awesome. But 3 is the one that did it for me, partly because you're playing as a teenager. And a lot of horror games with teenage protagonists are the ones like Until Dawn, like the teen slasher and the who's the killer mysteries. But this was the first time I had ever played something so psychologically unnerving, and the protagonist was not only just a teenager, but a teenage girl. I mean, it was like a completely new concept to me, because I'd been so used to, like, you know, strong men going through the darkness and fighting evil and all that, and then you get Silent Hill 3, and it's just this woman. I mean, a very interesting, compelling woman, but a teenage woman nonetheless. I mean, it was just this weird thing that I never really thought of at the time, and it adds this extra layer of vulnerability, because as a woman, as a teenage woman, you don't really get that same level of comfortability that you do with, if comfortability is even a word, that level of comfort that you do, like you do with like James in Silent Hill 2, because it's a grown ass man who's going through this town. Yeah, it's scary, but there's still subconsciously that level of like, oh, okay, it's a, it's kind of like what society digs into us. I was like, okay, it's an adult man. I feel somewhat comfortable, not fully, but somewhat more comfortable that it's a grown man going through this. Now, subconsciously, when you're going through this as a teenage boy, or even more so, a teenage girl, especially because our culture, especially in horror, loves to emphasize the male and the male power stuff. And this was the first time that, like, subconsciously, I mean, even playing it now, because I have it on the PS3, if you can get the PS2 version, get that instead. But it's psychologically more, like, vulnerable because you're playing as a teenage woman. And there isn't really that level of comfort, especially with someone who doesn't have the same experience in life as, or still, someone has more innocence than a grown man does. And it's just odd seeing it. It was odd back then, and in a weird way, it still is kind of odd now. It still makes you feel a little more unnerved because Heather is a teenage girl. But yeah, enough about that. The beginning of the game, I will never forget the moment I started this game. And something that was, something that annoyed me back then about my copy, that I actually really appreciate now, is that it was in black and white. So I don't know what happened to the disc, but it was a bootleg copy, but it was in black and white. So, and at the time, I thought that's what, like when I first started playing it, I thought that's what the game was like to begin with. I thought it was just a black and white game, like literally colorized as black and white. And I thought, oh, cool, this is like so creepy and cool. And then I found out it was supposed to be in color, and I was like, what the fuck, really? Oh, man, fuck. And I couldn't ask my dad to go buy me that shit because he didn't know what it was, and he would have seen the M rating on the box, and he would have gone, no, I'm not gonna get you this. This is too scary. No, we're not gonna do this. But he didn't know from the disc, the European disc, because it had like a different rating, and he didn't know what the fuck that meant. So I got to play Silent Hill 3 in black and white, and it annoyed me when I found out that it was supposed to be in color, and yet I pressed on through it anyway. And it's still, like, one of the creepiest games I've ever played. And still my first introduction to psychological horror. Looking back on that, I think that helped a lot. Because while, in color, it's still creepy and it still looks beautiful. The art design is impeccable. And the atmosphere that Team Silent created was just, oh my god, it was deliciously creepy. Playing it in black and white adds this extra layer of creepiness that isn't there in the initial game, which is really odd because I don't have the disc anymore, which sucks. I think I lost it a long time ago, but it was so cool, and I envy anybody that doesn't get to play Silent Hill 3 in black and white. Yeah, it was a little hard to see, but it was just more unnerving because it kind of felt like a snuff film in a way. I mean, I didn't know what a snuff film was back then, but now looking back on it, I'm glad that I got to play it in black and white, and it was a little staticky as well. I mean, the picture wasn't terrible or anything. But it had this, like some bootleg copies do, where it's like a little, the video's not quite there, but it because it's so unnerving to begin with, it adds another level of discomfort because of the lack of visual fidelity from you. Like, you can't see a lot of the time, like, clearly what's going on, and adds another level of, like, oh god, what's around this corner, or oh god, what the hell is that thing? And I will never forget the moment this game started, because it starts out with a warning, like, this game contains cruelty and violence and bloodshed and language. And as a 9-year-old or 9 or 10-year-old, you're like, oh fuck, this game is really hardcore. I mean, now compared to what I've seen. It's really mild compared to some stuff, but still, it is still pretty fucked up. It's a creepy fucking game. And I'll never forget the moment I first played it, when you're in the dream sequence in the abandoned amusement park, and those fucking bunny costumes in the beginning. Like, as a kid, I mean, I love going to Disneyland and the amusement parks and stuff, but I hated abandoned amusement parks that were designed to look like hell, and had these weird creatures running around and following me, and the dogs, and the weird weevil thing near the roller coaster. I mean, it was just, it just scared the living hell out of me. And I'm running out of time here, but the further you go down the rabbit hole in Silent Hill 3, the more weird it just gets. Like when like the cult stuff starts getting involved, and oh my god, the mirror scene, and the fucking, and oh my god, it's just, a lot of it is so, like, genuinely disturbing, on not like a shock value, but just subconsciously it's like, oh god, it just plays with your head in a lot of ways. And that's why Silent Hill 3, I mean, a lot of people consider Silent Hill 2 to be the best one in the franchise. Personally, I think it's Silent Hill 3 that is the crowning achievement of the franchise. I mean, besides PT, which is, I still think is a masterpiece in design, is still the scariest thing I've ever played. Yeah, Silent Hill 3. I mean, if you have a PS2 and can find a PS2 copy, go for it. That game is fucking brilliant. Don't get the goddamn PS3 version, because while it's still good, there's a lot of technical issues with it, and there's a lot of audio bugs, and it kind of ruins the experience a little bit. They really fucked up that HD transfer. And it's still, even though it's like quote-unquote patched on the PS3, it's still not great. It still doesn't hold a candle to the original Silent Hill 3 on the PS2. So if you have a PS2, that's another one of my recommendations. That's 3 PS2 recommendations. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. If you like what you see, subscribe. Let me know what you think about Silent Hill 3, or Silent Hill in general, or the fact that Junji Ito was gonna do the art design or the creature design for Silent Hills. Fuck you, Konami, god damn it. And yeah, talk about PT too. I love PT. I love talking about PT. It's fucking awesome. Love it to death. And next week, I'll try to think of something that doesn't relate to the PlayStation 2, because I do want to talk about, like, Game Boy stuff, and yes, I do have some original Xbox games I want to talk about, some stuff that I have nostalgic fondness for. So yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one.